Welcome to the Mindful Spark. My name's Dave, and in this video I'll be covering the introduction to the Happiness is in Your Own Hands series. It's going to be made up of 5 videos where I'm going to demonstrate how we can slightly change what we do to get a better outcome in the day. So it's not that we have to do anything else, anything different, but just slightly change how we do already what we do to be able to reset our stress levels and have much higher levels of contentment and joy. So the 5 videos are going to be made up of the first is the 5 pillars of well-being. And the medical community would generally agree that rest and sleep, good diet, exercise, social interaction, and self-awareness, if we can improve each of these by even 1%, that they have a knock-on effect. So if we sleep and we're more rested, we're more likely to eat slightly better. We're more likely to exercise. If we do these things, we're more likely to be more socially connected and be open and amenable. And then we're more likely to be self-aware, to understand when we're tired, when we're maybe not exercising enough or eating the wrong foods. So the second video I'm going to cover is the rest and digest component of the brain. So what nerves make up the rest and digest part of our body, and how can we turn off the sympathetic or fight and flight stress brain and turn on the relaxed, safe, centered brain. And it's made up of 4 nerves, which are the octomotor, facial, glossoopharyngeal, and vagus nerve, or in plain English, eyes, mouth, throat, and belly. And how we can consciously do activities to stimulate each of these 4 nerves and bring our body into a state of calmness, of relaxation, of security and feeling safe. The next video is going to be a very practical example of how we can activate those 4 nerves by moving 4 parts of our body. So we're going to make a circle with our wrist, our elbow, our shoulders, and our shoulder blade, and synchronize those 4 parts of the body with breathing. And this is a really good way of activating the rest and digest component of the body. And for those of us who have very busy minds and thoughts racing all the time, it can be very stressful and uncomfortable to try and be quiet and try and be introspective, look inside ourselves. So when we synchronize a movement with our breath, it takes up the bandwidth in the brain, and the brain doesn't have the space to be able to have phonetic thoughts as well as doing the movement and the synchronizing of the breath. So it's a really good way of bringing us into that self-awareness, centered, calm, comfortable space. The next video I'll be covering is the 4 happy hormones, and sometimes they're referred to as DOSE. So dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. And I'll show very simple things we can do in our day-to-day activities to be able to activate those. So when we're in a state of stress, when our fight and flight sympathetic system in the brain is turned on, we get hormones like adrenaline, neuroadrenaline. And these hormones can be detrimental to our health long term. Whereas if we can activate the rest and digest with the happy hormones, they're going to allow us to be able to be much more energetic, much more vivacious, and get more out of life. And the last video I'm going to cover is change your past to free your future. And this is, if you imagine this is a thought. Often a thought from our past usually has a corresponding emotion that locks it in. And the stronger the emotion, the more often the thoughts can come into our consciousness, flashbacks from the past that often inhibit our future. But as we learn to understand ourselves, our brains, our bodies better, our emotions, and we learn to have greater levels of kindness and compassion for ourselves and others, we can start to alter slightly the emotion that's linked to the thought. And as we start altering how the emotion locks the thought in, after a while we can actually let the thought go. And all of us will have times in our lives where we held on to things, something that bothered us. But as we became more mature, as we became more self-aware, have better understanding, we were able to let those things go. And once we let them go, they stopped coming into our consciousness, and they stopped affecting our present and impacting on our future. So the more we can free up our past, the more we can free up our future. They're the videos that we're going to cover in this series. I hope they're helpful, and I hope they'll bring you joy and happiness. Thank you very much.